Okie dokie. Welcome back to the Inside Hustle, Unfiltered Soul Truth. I'm Joanna Walden. I'm a consciousness visionary author and a cosmic change agent and all sorts of stuff I do in the multidimensional space. And today I'm joined by a dear friend, Craig Lyle. He's a healer, he's a medical intuitive, psychic surgeon, and a Reiki master from Northland, New Zealand. Craig's been guiding profound healing in the realms of body, mind, and spirit, specialising in everything from trauma release and ancestral blockages to remote healing for pets, animals, and nature. He has an amazing healing qualities that I first met when we were presenting at different festivals around New Zealand, health and wellness festivals, I think. And he's extraordinarily talented individual. And so it's my honor to present Craig to us today for an open dialogue here. I'm probably going in all realms of healing, wellness, and consciousness and all around. Who knows where we're going to go? But welcome, Craig.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Really nice to be here. I know we connected. I think you just written your first book, if I remember correctly. You were kind of just launching your first book, so it would be, I don't know, 5 years ago or more.
That's correct. Yeah. That's what I was saying to you just
First
before we
time.
hopped on. Your hair
Yeah.
was way shorter because it was like just before all the
Yeah,
lockdowns and all that jazz.
yeah,
Oh, brilliant.
yeah, yeah. Well, we all have a lot of guides, but my main sort of guide is the Native American. And just growing my hair out has actually kind of been almost an awakening for me to connect to that Native American or Red Indian spiritual heritage of mine. I feel, and people often say to me, "You look like a Red Indian." And I say, "Oh, I actually do have that spiritual connection." So it's interesting how those things happen.
Oh, yeah. I love that. So you work with a team of guides to do your work. So tell us a bit about that. Obviously, you've just introduced your Native American guide, but who's the team that you work with and how did that come about?
Yeah, we are very blessed, and thank you for your wonderful introduction. We obviously have all different gifts in that as well, and we all have different gifts. We're all so blessed, so many of us with all these different gifts. But the guide thing is quite interesting. I wasn't spiritual always. I have always been spiritual, but it was in the normally earthly stuff of, go to school. ADD, ADHD, dyslexic, OCD. So I did not fit into the schooling system in any way at all. I was one of those kids that were trying to put a round peg into a square hole. So I never really fitted in. Yeah, so that kind of spiritual side of me was probably pushed out of me at an early age. And I did the normal thing of going to school, getting an education, after that doing some studies of some sort, and then kind of working hard and doing all the material things that we think are important. And then I did really well at that, had a number of my own businesses, and a 28 economic world collapse, my empire collapsed as well. It was part of my journey. I've lost everything, got divorced in the process, went through some hard times. And on the 31st of December 2008, which is when I kind of wound up my business, I was in the show of my house that I had to sell to pay my debts and things. I was in the show New Year's Eve, about to go out and meet some friends. And this Native American guy just kind of appeared in front of me out of nowhere, this massive Native American with a headdress and just a fleeting vision in my mind. And he started to talk to me, and it was very interesting. He came to us, look, I know you feel like you snowed in, you've been through the storm and you snowed in, you can't move, because I literally had lost everything. Everything had collapsed around me. He said, I know you feel like you snowed in, but you need to learn to hunt with the wolves, and that will enable you to get through this, and the spring will come. So that's the first time that I actually connected with a guide, guardian angel, whatever you want to call it, was in 31st of December 2008. And it was sort of part of me going along, and it was one of those experiences. And quite some time before I then connected to other guides. But now more recently, I have, I'd say, 7 or 8 guides that, I can connect in, as we all can, to any guides anywhere, because we're on a spiritual realm. But I have my Native American guide, who's what I call my guardian angel. Has probably always been with me from when I was born. He's always been there. Then I have an Aboriginal guide that came to me. I was gifted a crystal by somebody. And the next healing I did, this Aboriginal lady just appeared. So I have this Aboriginal guide that I work with quite closely. And then shortly after that, during that time of 2020, during our lockdowns and whatever, I went on spiritual journeys with that. And I was gifted some moldavite, which is comes from outer space. And the next morning when I woke up, there was an extraterrestrial there in my room. I know that might be a bit far out for some people. It was far out for me. Don't worry. It was like, whoa, man, I wasn't expecting that, you know. And I connected with this extraterrestrial. After I found it was an Arcturian, and I think I refer to myself as a sorry, the word will come to me. But yeah, so this Arcturian guide came to me. I then did ceremony with him for 7 days, and he kind of stepped into my body. He said, "I'll come and dwell within your energetic field, because if you come to where I am, it'll blow your circuitry." And so he kind of stepped into my energetic field, and he's with me. And since then, I have now another 2 Arcturian guides. I have a Japanese guide that I work with quite a bit. And then I often in my psychic surgery have a little girl that comes to me. And I'm like going into psychic surgery and I'm asking for a doctor to come in and assist me. And this little child, she seems like a 6 or 7-year-old little girl with blonde hair and blue eyes. She always pops up. And of course, our third dimensional minds say, well, this cannot be someone that's going to help me with a medical problem. She's just a child. But of course, we all have this spiritual knowledge within us, you know. And she has that spiritual knowledge within her. And I think her message for me is to look at that inner child of mine and not get caught up in the third dimensional, you have to have an education, you have to be a doctor, whatever. No, we all have all these energies within us, you know. Everyone has it. So I have a number of guides that I've worked with, 6 or 7, that I'd say I work with a lot of the time, but I connect to anything, any guide, anywhere. If I work with an Indian person, sometimes their deities will come through. So we connected to all things and all energies. We can just use what we need to. You know?
Beautiful. And were you taught how to do what you do, like the psychic surgeries and such, from those guides, or how did that work come about?
Yeah, the psychic surgery is quite interesting. I went to, I'm from South Africa originally. Before I came to New Zealand, coming up for 10 years ago now, I went to, I've always been interested in this kind of spiritual stuff, open to it. I guess there was an awareness within me that I had the spiritual connection. And I went to what you call an angel reader, a lady that connected into the archangels. And she did a reading for me. And she said, Archangel Raphael's here. I think he's the healing archangel. And she said, he says you're a medical intuitive. So I said to her, well, what does that mean? She said, I don't know. So the 2 of us had to Google it and look it up while we were there. So I was told that I'm a medical intuitive before I really even understood what it was. You know? And I can run my hands over a person, and I started with horses. I can run my hands over a horse, stop in a spot the size of $1 coin and say, that's where this horse has hurt itself. And people say, how do you know that? I say, I don't know. It's kind of like a magnet. You know, my hand will just go and it'll just stop. And I just know there's something going on there. Then I get a medical intuition from my guide, and that can be whatever guide it is. Generally, I sense that's my Native American guide. And he'll tell me it's something small, just a bit of walking, it'll be fine, leave it for weeks rest, or it's going to be 18 months. I get medical intuitive guidance. So I've been very blessed with animals to have had a lot of guidance around that. And in people too, at one of those same festivals, I think before I met you probably, so maybe 7 odd years ago, I was just drawn to go to someone who was sitting down. I went to this person, said, do you mind if I run my hands over you? I said, no problem. I ran my hands and I stopped on the lower part of his stomach and said, look, there's something going on here. You need to go and see a doctor. You know? And I didn't see him for 3 years, maybe more. I was at another healing festival, and this lady came up and said, oh, that was my husband that you saw at this festival 3-4 years ago, whatever it was. So thank you very much for telling him there was something going on there. He went to the doctor, he had prostate cancer, and he's had treatment and he's fine, you know. So I'm very blessed. Like that's like mind-blowing. And it's not like this person came to for healing. It's like my God told me, you need to go and talk to that person. I mean, I can't just walk up to some guy and say, listen, mate, you know, I've got something to tell you. But I've learned from that when I get that guidance, I need to just follow it, you know.
Yeah,
So
right.
the medical intuitive thing and the psychic surgery came from my Reiki Reiki is something that you learn as psychic surgery. As part of my Reiki foundation modality that I've done. And then because I have that medical intuition, I've used it really right from the beginning. We're going to stop a person and say, I feel something going on here. And it was quite interesting. Just shortly after I'd done my Reiki course, we had a group of us that were all kind of Reiki people, and we were working on each other. And this lady said, I've got a problem with my liver. And I said, tell her what's wrong, and we'll try and connect into it. And I ran my hands over, and I come to another spot. And I said, there's something going on here. So no, it's my liver. I said, no, there's something wrong with your liver, but that's not your main problem. You've got a major problem here. And I stop on the spot and I touch on a spot. And she says to me, well, you won't believe it. I haven't even told my husband. I have a hernia there. And I haven't even told my husband about it. Because if I have an operation, let's say there's a 50% chance of survival. She'd had a number of hernias or whatever, quite sure the medical technical terms, but she said it's a very risky operation. So I haven't even mentioned it to my husband, and yet I picked it up with no knowledge of any sort. When she'd actually, in a sense, misled me and said, "Oh, this is my problem," and my guide's telling me, "No, you can't bullshit me. You know, there's something else going on here." You know, so it's just it's really interesting. We are just so blessed to have this guidance, but of course we need to trust it 100%. So I learned very early on that I have a gift of that, what I call medical intuitive. So psychic surgery have done a lot to people that have had pain for years, like years. Some people, 20 years. Doctors can't sort it out. And often I'll connect to that and find there's actually a story behind it. Like why at 19 years of age, and you're now 39, let's say, or 20, and you're now 40, why did at that time, what happened there? And I'll pick up a bit of a story and I'll say, I see you at this age, and this is a shift, this is a change. This particular healing was this person was brought up in a Catholic school, and would have been quite strong in Catholic, use the word doctrine, whatever you want to call it. And of course, then they left school and became a young adult, and the inner compass is telling them a different story to what the religion has been telling them. The inner compass is telling them there's something slightly different here, you know. It's not against that religion, but I'm seeing it in a different way. And for 20 years, they had that fight between the doctrine and what their inner selves are telling them, what their guidance to them. So my hairs are just standing all over my body. It's just reminding me that yes. And it took 20 years for me to bring that up and say, and when I said it, say, you're absolutely right. You know, so I had no knowledge of this person. They were from another country where they went to school. So not even from here, you know. So I can't know that. It's not someone that I knew. It's information I'm being shown, and I've trusted it. And I did a healing for them and said, okay, it's going to take you 3 weeks to shed your skin as such, because you've been the snake in the skin and you've outgrown it 20 years ago, and you just stayed in the same suit, you know, and the suit doesn't fit you anymore. And we need to take that off. And it took 3 weeks for his physical symptoms to clear. And it's been also, I don't know, 6 or 7 years, never come back again, you know? So I'm really, really blessed. And of course, it's our time, you know, you and me and so many people that are listening to this, we all have our part to play. This is our time to shine, you know. It's a beautiful time for us. Chaotic?
Yeah. I mean, I had an experience of the psychic surgery aspect when I was traveling in Brazil. I was traveling in South America, and I went to the very highly controversial now John of God, or João de Deus. And I mean, that was remarkable because I was just curious, really. And, you know, you'd go through the line to visit the entity, and basically then they would give you some kind of prescription, and then, or they would defer you for a psychic surgery, essentially. And, you know, João de Deus would be in trance, channeling doctors. And they all had specific names, and different doctors came in depending on the session. And everybody else would be, like, hundreds of people would be in the current, which was actually this big meditational field that people were holding a really high frequency in order for that work to be done. And I mean, he was getting very old objects that you might use in surgery and doing these procedures and ripping tumors out of people's stomachs and just slicing them open on stage, and they were under spiritual anesthetic. And I know you don't do necessarily the physical ones, but I mean, it was something I'll never forget. It was so interesting. And these people were clearly, and then I had my own psychic surgery while I was there, but it wasn't a physical one, it was an invisible one. Because you can have both, but they basically said a lot of people, because of the mind, they can't believe that something has happened, so they need the physical surgery to allow them. Whereas I didn't need to do that. But people talked about their hand just going up for physical surgery and not having any control over it as well, because there's something in their being wanted to have that experience. But my one was an invisible surgery, but I literally felt like I was on some kind of spiritual anesthetic. You feel very woozy all of a sudden, and then that you can feel things happening in your body. And then the after was when the anesthetic wore off. That was when crazy, because I mean, I went into like massive sweats and so almost like not even a fever, but it was like my body was working through so much of stuff that had happened. And then I had a lot of pain when the spiritual anesthetic wore off, like less than 24 hours later. And I was like, whoa, something has really happened here. So it was undeniable. And it was my most powerful experience of a psychic surgery that I've ever had. I wrote about it in my book, The Inside Hustle. But it was so fascinating just to see what went on there and see how he was using these gifts, and the things that they were doing was just absolutely mind blowing, really. And defeats all perception of the linear way this reality's been constructed, or how we should choose to look at healing or surgery or any of that stuff. I mean, it was like a
Yeah,
real
yeah,
a real yeah, adjustment there to understanding, like, oh wow, there's a whole other thing that goes well beyond conventional medicine and healing here that is pretty remarkable.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's stuff that some people are doing around the world. John McGrath is one of them. The work that he was doing, which is just unbelievable. And I'm a conceptual thinker, so I don't do that physical stuff you're talking about, because I kind of get the concept that I'm not the healer. I am the healer, but it's channeling through me.
Yeah.
Um, I'm just the instrument. I mean, it can't happen. It can't happen without us.
Mm.
We're in this third dimensional world, so we need to be here. It can't happen without us. So we are the healers, but it's obviously coming through a higher realm through us. And I've had exactly like what you're saying, where I felt like I need to go into a person's stomach, and they've been lying there for a while, gone into a deep sleep almost, and I'm moving down the body, and I get to the stomach, and I feel something, and I feel like I'm going to go in and do psychic surgery in my mind. I'm not talking to them; they in another space. And I literally feel my hands go into that person's stomach. And like you said, finding a tumor or something, and I can literally feel it. And the next thing, this person's eyes will shoot open, and they look and say, "Have you got your hands in my stomach?" They literally feel it, absolutely feel it. Like I've had it many times where people have been woken up from it. It's like, I can feel your hands inside my stomach. So it's not like I'm telling them a story and they're starting to believe it, and okay, your hand's going in. It's like they're not even conscious at that time. They are in a sleep. So it's not, you could say, well, are you tricking them into thinking your hands are there? You know what I mean? People think, oh, it's all trickery and whatever. It's not at all. I mean, in those cases, most of these people are not aware of it at all, and they suddenly become aware of it, and then looked at my hands exactly where their stomach is, and I can see they're 6 inches or 8 inches above their stomach. And I go in metaphorically, energetically, into that area, remove that thing. So the way I work is the psychic surgery you spoke about, where I don't remove objects out of people. I'm sure that I could, but that's not my way of working, my mind, my individual that I am. That's not what I'm here to do. John of God, that's the kind of work he did. We all have different things to do and different ways to do it, And the results that I get from that kind of stuff and people like that, it's just it's unbelievable. That's the only way to explain it. You can't explain it. It's not something you can explain.
Mm. Well, we are in a
Pretty
paradigm
amazing.
shift here, and it's a huge and it's funny because it's like a quantum leap forward, but it's really back to where we've always been as divine beings and
Yeah,
these energy beings.
yeah,
And it's just
Yeah.
remembering that we are that, and therefore we operate outside of the realm of linear 3D reality, including anything medical, including anything health and wellness related, including, all of the facets of this reality as it's, currently constructed. And so it's so, yeah, I mean, these things aren't they're not really so unusual or mind-blowing or anything really. They're actually really more
Yeah.
linked to our true nature than anything. It's just that we've been
Yeah.
in this state of perpetual amnesia for a while.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's kind of like we're coming back to what we really are. So for a lot of they talk about it's not learning stuff. Like I've learned Reiki, level 1, level 2, level 3 master Reiki. I've learned kinesiology. I've learned this. No, all that stuff is just for our third dimensional minds. We don't need to learn anything.
no.
It's all there.
Yeah.
All we need to learn is how to remember.
Yeah.
It's and we are becoming more aware of that ability to remember things. Like there's nothing that I can't do. I know that, and that's not an arrogance. There's nothing that I can't do because I know that spirit can do anything. I just need to open my own eyes to be able to see what I can do. I'm going to say
Yeah.
it's not that I can do anything more than anyone else or whatever. Any one of us can.
Mm,
We just need to know who we really are. Remember who we are. That's all.
yeah. I mean, and I was guided, specifically not to necessarily go and train anything like I did kinesiology back in the day. And then I was looking for something else. I was looking for a modality or a thing. And then it just came, no, you're not meant to be doing that, because actually what you're doing is you're meant to be remembering into your own technology about what you bring and about co-creating with the divine intelligence to offer that through you. So that's how my work kind of got constructed. But I understand that on everyone's journey, we start somewhere. Like I kind of started at kinesiology as well. And it did teach me a huge amount about mind, body, spirit connection and the energy the way that moves through the body and all that stuff. So, nothing is ever wasted, but yet it's not also our only answer, because we're all such unique blueprints of energy, and we've all got something absolutely specific to offer in that wheel that you talked about, like that, the cog in the wheel that we talked about at the beginning of the conversation, or each of us playing our own really beautiful role here. And when we can step into that power and energy, that's when we really start cooking with gas, so to speak. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
mm,
that is good. What also like you once I did my Reiki was just kind of for my guide to be able to give me guidance. So like in Reiki, the left-hand side is the past, the right-hand side is the future. The left-hand side is feminine, right-hand side is masculine. And the energy centers, the chakras, where they are. So for me, that was just my guide can now knows that I have knowledge on that left knee means a trauma from the past.
mm,
So when I come up, my hand stops there. That's my guide telling me there's a trauma from the past. So we do need those third dimensional things that we both learned and studied, because that helps us to communicate with those that are on the other side. Because for me, they don't talk to me as such. They will show me things.
mm,
It's not like you have a conversation with my guides. It's kind of more of a show me a picture or something. And as I say, for me, if I stop on the left knee, I know there's a trauma from the past. If I hold my hand there, normally often it will come to me, and I'll pick up and say, you were around about 5 or 6, and I see this happening to you, or whatever it may be. So it's really the studying those things as a guideline. So I then just use that as a foundation. And like you felt like I don't need to do my Reiki Masters or whatever, I have that knowledge. But in 2020, I think it was, my guide came to me and said, you need to do your Reiki Masters. Well, I don't need to. I'm intuitively doing what I need to do. But of course, humans generally, and as you say, where we are held back a bit in our third dimensional mindset, sometimes need that piece of paper. My guide said at that time, you need to get that piece of paper, not
mm.
because you need the qualification, but because some people need to see the piece of paper. That makes sense. Some people, when you say you're a Reiki master, they have a picture this person does energy healing and that they're at a level that will work for me, if that makes sense. So
Mm,
much like you and I just follow my own stuff, but sometimes we've also got to do that, the 3D stuff, for
yeah.
those people that are starting, because we here to help everybody. and someone maybe at a slightly lower level where they're starting off, and that Reiki is something they understand. Okay, I've heard about Reiki, I'll give that a try, and then you can bring them up into the higher levels to where they can walk on water themselves.
Um, and how have you noticed, or what have you noticed about the the themes that are coming through with your clients now versus, like when you started? I'm sure things have shifted and changed, especially given what's going on in the world. I mean, what's your experience of that thus far?
Yeah, particularly. So when I first started, I saw a lot of stuff, and I felt like I needed to, because I started with a completely blank canvas.
Mm,
So I felt like I needed to pick up stuff in a person, and I needed to validate myself. I need to say, I saw when you were 5 years old, this happened to you in a car accident or whatever, and you broke your leg. And so, well, you can't know that. So for me, it was that same third dimensional stuff that I just spoke about, where I needed to convince myself that I wasn't crazy, that I was seeing things that I couldn't possibly know. And then that helped me to say, okay, you're still carrying that trauma from that. It's still
mm,
sitting with you. I'm going to help release that. So in the beginning of my healings, a lot of it was, I would use the term third dimensional validation for myself. That's why I started on horses, because they couldn't tell me anything. And when I was right every time, then I knew, okay, then I started, someone fall off the horse and said, okay, let me see if I can help you. So I started with the horses. I knew they couldn't tell me anything. And when I was right, I knew no one could be telling me that. And then,
mm,
of course, with people, you can talk to me, or maybe they told me that I didn't listen, or whatever. Your mind starts to play tricks on you.
mm,
So I started in the beginning where I needed to validate myself and understand I needed to walk down that path to get that confidence, that inner knowing that I'm able to pick up things that I can't know. So I started off by picking up a lot of things and seeing stuff. Now I don't see much of that at all, because I know I don't need to. I know I'm held with unconditional love for anybody and everybody on this planet. Um, in my spiritual self, the third dimensional self gets in the way sometimes. But I'm here to help everybody. And I know that I am helping whoever I'm dealing with in some way or other, whether they notice it or not. So I don't see as much as I used to, because I don't need to. I now just pick up where the energy is and I release it, because we
mm,
don't have time. So my biggest shift that I'm finding the whole of this year, is that things are really changing quickly, like quickly. So like we don't have time to retell the whole story and go through the accident and the broken leg and the cast and the months in hospital and there's a kid out affected you. We don't have time for that. We
mm,
need to get going. We've got this whole world to change. We're bringing peace here in the next 5 years. It's
mm,
coming. Nothing can stop it. So it's like, what is holding you back? I sense it there. Let me take it out, get rid of it. I don't need to analyze it. You don't need to analyze it. We just need to shift it. So the biggest shift for me in recent years, and this year in particular, is like just quickly moving stuff that people can get to the next level. But what I'm also finding is that, particularly in the last 3 or 4 months, there's a lot of shift and shit happening for a lot of people.
yeah.
Like things, there's a lot going on really quickly, man.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of stuff going on, like big shifts and things like, whoa, man, this is. So at the moment, I'm finding like a huge amount of shift in people. And I spoke earlier about that client I saw a month ago, and then again yesterday, where healing, next day, like major shift, like huge shift. A month later, come to me like, whoa, I'm a changed person. And
Mm,
that's what we need, because we need to bring peace to this earth, which is coming. One of the other things that I'm blessed with is prophecy. And I've had a number of prophecies. And what I just realized a few days ago is that I'm kind of ahead of my time in a sense. I've seen some things 5 years ago that would happen, and I think, oh, that's going to happen next week. I'm realizing I'm doing that next month. It's 5 years later, but it's coming. I saw it, and it's coming. So we tend to sometimes be in too much of a hurry with things.
mm,
We years ago, I wasn't ready for what I'm going to do next month. Ready now, but I saw it at least 5 years ago. And a lot of political stuff around the world, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and it comes to pass. So having those prophecies is a great gift, and they're not mine. My guy's just reading the book up in the heavens. He's just reading the story that's there. So it's not my prophecy. It's just he's reading that prophecy to me. It could go to another 1,000 people around the world 100 years ago, 100 years in the future, wherever. It's just what's coming, you know. So I'm finding at the moment the shift, and I had the prophecy 4 years ago that 2025 was going to be a very tumultuous year. And when we came towards this year, a couple of people I'd sort of forgotten about it. A few of my clients and friends said, "Oh, you said that next year is going to be," and of course it has been. There's been a lot of stuff going on, you know, and people are really feeling that dense, heavy, because the dark energy, the war is won, the dark is lost, but of course it's time to unfold itself, and the dark energy is still. I've kind of seen the serpent. I'll take it as a big black python serpent. Archangel Michael chopped the head off a few years ago. I've seen that. The head's off, but the body is still writhing as snakes do for quite some time. So we're seeing all that writhing in this darkness coming up out the ground and performing and whatever. But all of that is going to fall away. And of course, it'll be a long time before we have complete peace on earth. But another one of the prophecies I had probably 10 years ago is 2030, we will have peace on earth. And that's not what everything will be perfect, but enough of us will have understood that inner selves that you spoke about earlier, that who we truly, that there'll be no road back. It may take another 50 years to get where no children ever go without food or shelter or water, anything. You know, it may take time to bring that about. Wars and those things, there'll be no more, you know. So 2030, there'll be peace on earth, but it's not like just one day it's going to be peace. Everybody's got everything, but it'll be like everyone will know we are past that point, you know, of wars and suffering unnecessarily and whatever. Religions will start to understand each other, accept each other, and it's a beautiful time, and it's not far off there.
I mean, as you say, things are shifting so rapidly. I mean, I've also had the same experience with my clients and my work, in that, yeah, it's not about going in and engaging with the story or the mind-associated aspect of it at all, because it's really asking us to drop into the heart space, which is the space of knowing and of understanding from the level of our true wisdom, rather than the mind, which is connected to these accepted or 3D constructs of reality that are part of like the viral program that we're disconnecting from in a way. And so I've noticed a lot of, I really have to not, I mean, my work is all geometry and light and sound. It goes beyond that space anyway, you know. So what I've noticed is that more clients that are in the space of needing my energy activations that are really unrelated to anything of any story more than ever, you know. And there was a bit of a mixture going on there at the beginning, but now it's just really straight up sort of quantum mechanics and geometries and things like that going on rather than anything else. And, you know, I think the state of the world also is, you know, everything, as you say, I love that, and now that sort of metaphor of the writhing python without the head. And that's so, yeah, that resonates a lot. And it's interesting because there is a lot that's been buried beneath the surface or shoved under the carpet for so many years. And it's just all that's always been there all along. It's always been there, but it's just now being forced, like squeezing a pimple or something, to the surface to be seen and to be, you know, recalibrated and let go of and move on from. And yeah, it's fascinating the way that it's happening. And, you know, I think all this, there seems sometimes to be a little bit of judgment about the dark, but at the same time, there's plenty of ways the dark work for the light. Like in the beginning of this conversation, before we hopped on, we were talking about how sometimes we go through these periods of chaos or darkness within ourselves even, that force us into an evolutionary process to pop out the other side. And not that I necessarily think that that's the way that we're going to be doing it forever. It's very much akin to where we're at right now as humanity in our evolutionary journey, for sure. But it's it's interesting because there is purpose in everything. And even, you know, the dark void of creation is where things are birthed from, right? So, but in our human minds, there's been a distortion of darkness, or that darkness is played out in distortion because of that, in a way, which I find fascinating,
Yeah.
because ultimately everything is of the divine or born from the divine, and and therefore, there's something to that. Everything will return back to the divine and its true pristine blueprint eventually. Um, but
Absolutely.
yeah, exciting
And
time.
that, that darkness needs to come up, because if it doesn't, we're just living in a fantasy. Yes, and when it comes up, it makes those people that are sitting dormantly, and we're seeing that all around the world at the moment, like all around the world. You take politics as an example through the last couple of hundred years at least. You like this person, you vote for them. We haven't understood that political system is a whole system. We just, we like this guy, or person, whatever, we'll vote them in. They just look after the country, pay the teachers, pay the police and whatever. There's a whole neck of stuff there and we now start to say, hang on, this is not what we thought it was.
Mm,
So we've just been ticking along and it seems to work okay. And now there's been so much upheaval all around, as you spoke about dark things coming up. The people are starting to say, man, okay, well, politicians have always abused their power. They've always got rich out of being in politics. So they get deals that help them. And now we're standing up and saying, no, but hang on, I'm not sure that that's exactly we really want. We need to change this whole system. And that's starting to come around the whole world. You're seeing countries, just all over, man. I heard in England recently now, yeah, people are saying, no, hang on, we don't think that that's what we want. Because before people just ticked along, and other people, and we're the ones that need to stand up. If people don't stand up and say, hang on, this is not what we're looking for, the shift won't come. So bringing that darkness, as you say, bring it to the light is what enables us to wake up in a sense and say, well, no, that's not actually what we want. We need something different.
mm,
I said wars is just an example. All the time, and of course, children are the ones that often suffer from it. Either they lose their parents or whatever. My World War II. My mom was maybe a few years old when he left for 5 years, but his youngest child, when he came back after a few years, she said, "Who's the strange man in the house?" He'd been up in Italy and Egypt and those countries for a number of years, and there's a child 3 years old who didn't even know their father. So all that kind of stuff, we need to get away from that and have a completely different system. It affects everybody, and it's coming. Nothing can stop it. So
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it is the ultimately where we're going is the collapse of all of these systems that have been the systemic, level of consciousness that's been running through or been dominant at that time. And it's no longer that. And so those systems need to change because it's not in alignment for any of us anymore. And it hasn't been for some time. And, it is true. Everywhere you look around, these are the structures that we are buying into, that we continue to perpetuate in the reality that we're living in. And we're all in this co-creative process together with it in the collective consciousness and the collective of humans. So it's an interesting time because there's so much to shift. And I also believe that actually so much of this can be instantaneously shifted. Like I've felt at times in my experience, I've felt reality kind of fall away and come back again. I've felt literally like a complete, like almost like the screen comes down and comes back up again. Like that is the way that reality works energetically. There is, and it's not just like fantastical magic and mystery, but it is the possibility that when we have a level of consciousness and trained through the majority of things, that things can change in an instant, and they'll also be brought back to the pure pristine blueprint, or back to abundance and glory, or nature restored, or whatever it is, that can happen actually instantaneously. It's not going to be like a however many 100 million year cycle. It's just not. But it's also up to us to help us get there, and for us to, we're all each playing our role in the way that we choose to experience reality and what we choose to identify with in our perceptions as we go through. Because there's a lot of red herrings out there, and there's a lot of illusion, and there's a lot of distraction, and there's a lot of BS.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the biggest challenges for us, for all people, I guess, there's two things. The one is that, and I think the sort of COVID era created that two different sides, you're either on this side of the fence or that side of the fence. It created a separation.
Yeah.
And what we need to realize, so I have my family, I'm from family, six of us kids, and I've got a brother in Canada, a brother in America, a sister in France, me in New Zealand, two sisters back in South Africa. So we're all around the world, and we may have different views on certain things. And fortunately for us, we may have some different views on some of those things, but it hasn't split us up in any way at all. We've managed to, we get on, and it's okay. We have our different opinions. It's all good. But a lot of people have been really split. Families have been split. You're either this side or you're that side. And that was done purposefully. So the challenge for us at the moment is two things. One is to not try and convince that other side that we're the right side, because there's dark and light, yin and yang. That's how it's meant to be. So it's to not get into that argument, if you want to call it that, because it's pointless.
No.
These people have this opinion, those of those. It's okay. It's all right for us to have different opinions. It's like it's okay to be a Christian or a Hindu. It's okay. You're following the principles of a God, whatever it may be, a higher source, being good, kind to people. The fact that they are taught differently, whatever, they may have different deities, prophets, whatever. It's immaterial, in a sense. But of course, to try and get those to come together is not easy, but it will happen in time. So the challenge for us is not to get drawn into the separation. And the big thing for us to do, and my work, the people that I work with are all light workers. I don't work with normal people, if I can put it. My calling is to help the light workers. And that light worker can mean anything, can mean a healer, anyone who's spiritually aware. It's not like a healer or whatever, it's just on a certain connection with a light, if I can put it that way, and has a desire to help in whatever way that may be. And what we need to do is not verbal, it's a spiritual change. It's not about talking to each other. It's about telepathically communicating with each other. We will bring the right governments into power, the right people to power, not by holding up placards or come and vote for the Reds or the Blues or whatever. We're just in our heart, as you said, going to a heart center, sending, and I've seen this prophecy probably more than 10 years ago, where voting won't be, as I said, where you come with and you chat to this person. You literally will sit in groups and meditate. And meditating here in New Zealand, you in Auckland, me in Kerikeri, for the election in Korea, and creating shift there. Not talking to anybody, but just knowing what the right thing to do in our heart-centeredness, knowing what the right personal thing to do, what needs to happen. And in some cases, that may be that the wrong person gets into power. In some cases, because that brings about the change.
Yeah.
We might look and say, but that's a bad person. But yes, that person will bring about the change, whether it's because the next person comes and says, well, we don't want that anymore, whatever it may be. Everyone who's elected, born to power, good, meant to be there. When we get to accept that all those things are meant to be, and that we are able to change all of that from our hearts, not from our speech. I use the word telepathic. You have at least three brains in your body. It's one of them. That heart brain, that vibration and energy from your heart can go into the entire planet. And it's people like you and me and those of us that are connected on here and connecting to each other that will bring about that vibration and that shift. It won't be about picking sides or anything at all. It's got nothing to do with that. It's a complete and absolute spiritual awareness. And one person can sit on a mountain somewhere and connect to their heart and change the entire planet.
Yeah.
So imagine what we can do together.
That's it as well. And
We
I
just need to.
actually, on a similar vein, I had this sort of download the other day about it. There's so much, and even in like our community of holistic and spiritual people, there's so much in the separation of like, oh, they're still asleep, or they're awake, or there's awake versus asleep kind of thing. And like it's the same thing. It's, the sides kind of situation. It's perpetuation of separation consciousness ultimately. But what people don't realize is when they are in an us versus them projection, and it is, oh well, they're still, oh, half the planet's still asleep, oh, what's, like, oh, it's going to take forever to get out, like, oh my God, all these people who are asleep are dragging us down kind of thing. And it's like they don't realize that just them actually in that projection is the suppression, and it's due to that behavior, which is a lack of consciousness actually in the regard about how this reality truly works. And
Yeah.
that is what is holding people back. Like people aren't, because there's that level of judgment still operating, and that is energetically going into the field, which is in part of the level of consciousness remaining brought down here. And I don't think people are not consciously doing it because they're not truly aware of the subtle ways energy and consciousness works. And there is a really fine understanding of this required, and when we're remembering our mastery and who we truly are, so that we are not inhabiting those kind of behaviors that have been the programmed source of human reality for the longest time. And that is not helping anybody on the planet right now by operating out of that divisory separation consciousness in any way. It could also culminate in any other way that people do an us versus them, or there's any kind of judgment or throwing shade kind of thing going around. It's the same thing. It's actually doing the reverse of what they are intending or wanting to do. It's the same thing you talk about with the protesting. We're not going to get there with protesting, and like it's the same thing, because that's the form of resistance, and energetically that doesn't work. It's not how you change the game. And these are some of the consciousness traps that I talk about in this reality, that people are blindly like contributing what they don't really want and by accident in a way. And it's not, it's not intentional, but it is a lack of awareness in regard to the true dimensions of how things operate and what you are contributing your energy to, and us all being really on point with that and having radical bloody responsibility for it.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah, that's also one of the hardest things, is for people to accept that each person has their part to play. And you said that, as you said, some people need to go out and have placards and do things because that's what they're here to do. That's part of what they need to do. Maybe that brings someone else's, or seeing that would make someone else aware in a different way. So everybody has their part to play. That's the hard part for us as third dimensional beings, as I said, because we judgmental and whatever, is to allow everybody to be who they're meant to be. Because
Yeah,
everybody is exactly who they're meant to be, whether they're good,
right.
bad, ugly, negative, positive, they are meant to be that. We're all part of the same divine. We all go back to the same divine. So those
Yeah,
people have come here to be, and I spoke about religion early. People have come here to be Christians. People have come here for Judaism. People have come here to be Hindus, to be Islamic. Those people, they've come. There's all sorts of religions and things. They've come here to fit into that for
mm.
whatever reason. That's the part there. We're all part of the same thing. And that's the hard part of this stage, is say, because things are chaotic, people want to try and get everybody to be on their page. It's like, no, just sit. And that's what I said to you earlier, was whisper words of wisdom. In all this chaos, people often say to me, how do I'm praying or whatever, talking to spirit, talking to my God, how do I get answers from them? And I say to them, you don't try. If you're praying and like talking and saying, give me an answer, you're going to be waiting for a long time because
Yeah,
nothing's going to come. But when you've done that and you're driving in your car to go to work or something, and suddenly just in the back of your mind, this little thought just drops in, this whisper, a word of wisdom just drops in. Put it straight into your heart. Don't put it in your head, because then it starts going round and round. Just take that that word of wisdom that's come quietly and gently when you weren't expecting it, just put it into your heart. It'll grow there. It's like you planted that seed in your heart. Water it, it'll grow. Don't take that seed and hold it and try and look at it and turn it this way and that way and say, what's it saying? What's it going to grow into and whatever you, that's not what you need to do. And all the chaos, you need to listen for the very quietly. I tell people, don't try. Because if you're trying, that's a third dimension, that's your mind. If
So,
you're trying to talk to God, you're
and
not going to hear
try
anything.
is usually linked to a trauma as well. They're related.
Yeah,
And yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
yeah, it's so fascinating because everyone is, if we could all just honor everybody else and accept where everybody is at without trying to make it any different, and
Yeah.
oh, they're asleep, they're holding us back. What about they're playing their role perfectly at this time, as are the characters
Yeah.
showing up in our life who are triggering the shit out of us or who are
Mhm.
providing us an opportunity if it's something in a really positive way or whatever it is. Like it's all part of the same reality construct, which is not an outside in, it's an inside out approach. Like that's the way energetics work. And so when we are looking to shift anything, it's within ourselves first. And ultimately, we've all got the ability to do that for free in every moment of every day. It is where we start, and we start in the heart because that is really the center of our being and where the truth lies outside of all of the programmed confusing stuff going on and the chaotic reality we're surrounded by. Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's an interesting
As
interesting
you said,
time.
when you can trust that. And I said I've had quite a few prophecies, and I've had a lot of things in my own life where I know something's coming. Like with my healing, I know that I'm going to heal thousands of people at a time. I would have told you that 7 years ago whenever I met you. I
Hmm.
told you I would have known that at that time. I have that innate knowing within myself. I
Hmm.
know that from a very long time back. But of course, when I first did my Reiki, I thought, well, I need to start getting out there and getting known and get out and start traveling the world and healing people all over the world. And that didn't happen. It's like, oh man, I'm failing. That's what I've been taught at school. You've got to get out there and make it happen.
Yeah.
And now as I've sat back and sat in my heart, I know all those things are coming and some of them are starting to unfold. And it's been a long time.
Mm.
So when we trust all that, and I've had a lot of dirty water go under the bridge during that time, some challenges and health challenges and financial challenges and relationship challenges
Yeah.
and you name it, all sorts of things. 4 years ago, my daughter was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, tumors
Yeah.
on the brain. So I've been through a lot of dirty waters, been under that bridge. But as I sit here now, I realize that if I just taken it and let it unfold as it comes, instead of being trying to get there, I know it's coming. So I'm trying to make it happen. So I said, don't try.
Mm.
And when I've sat back and said, look, well, I know that stuff's coming. It's okay. It'll come when it's ready. I'm not ready. I need to learn things. I need to go through some hardships in some areas to get some lessons. And as I'm looking at some of those things that are unfolding now, which is a long time down the line, I realize they are coming. And I know there's other things that I've spoken about that I've seen. For me, as I said to you, I feel like I'm ahead of my time and then I get the visions of that stuff. And for me, that I'm an entrepreneur by nature, so I've had a number of my own businesses and I like to just get things done. I'll take something I know nothing about, learn about it, do it well. That's who I am. But of course, I feel that needs to happen straight away. And I realized, no, all those things that I've seen, they are coming, but in God's time, in Spirit's timing, when the time is right. So you can go through all that hardship and stress and all that to get, you're going to get there either way, or you can just allow it to unfold. So those people that you say that are not, don't seem to be on the same page as you and they're upsetting you because they're not awake yet or whatever. That's part of what you need to go through to realize that they have their own journey to go. They needed to be there to trigger you, as you said, for whatever reason
Right.
it may be. So when you get to accept it, I don't stress. Like at a point, I had 3 of my own business, a factory of 50 people working for me, manager running it, another in business importing motorbikes and quads and scooters, 100 dealers through the country. Really busy, man, and stressing that all the time, always worrying about things. And now I can honestly say that I don't worry about a lot of stuff. I've
Mm.
learned that those things that I've seen that I know are coming, like Peace on earth is coming. I know that. But it might not be tomorrow,
Mm.
but it's coming. And maybe I've got the 2030, where, as I say, that pendulum you spoke about, where that pendulum just swings and listen, that it's down here anymore. It can't go back to there. It
Yeah.
may be that. And when you get to accept all those things, include some of those negative things that happen. And when you accept that everything happens in the right time, it makes your life a lot easier, man. It makes you so much easier to work in your heart
Mm.
when you know that it's okay. This bad thing that happened to me, there's a reason for it. I will understand it and see why it had to be that way in a year's time, 2 years' time, 5 years' time. It's okay. It makes such a huge difference to your
Yeah.
entire outlook on life and how you're able to interact with other people.
Yeah. Yeah, it does, but it is a tough pill to swallow for a lot of people. I do find that a challenge for my clients as well, because that's also, it's very difficult not to judge our experience when we're having a really crap experience and we feel like a lot of guilt or blame on ourselves or whatever it is, self-judgment. And but yet it is, we are in this co-creative process, but the universe always says yes. So if there's a hold up or whatever, it is something to do with something going on in our energetically, in our energy, there's things that, or stories that we got to let go of, or belief systems that we are entrained to, or subconscious things going on that we don't even realize that are contributing to our frequency and what we are then experiencing bringing into our reality. And so, I do believe it's it's very much a tangible co-creative process that we go through and as part of our evolution, because to get from here to here, it's sort of like, we go like this to get there. But I noticed on my journey, it used to be like a lot of up and downs, and now it's more like that. It's like much more even and rolling, and you don't notice them as much. But it's still definitely that kind of I always get this word wrong. I don't peristaltic or gestaltic kind of motion that propels us forward because it's moving us forward
Yeah,
like waves on a beach. It's like
yeah,
um in our experience, so that we can come into alignment with that which we are dreaming of or visioning or bringing to be in our future. um
yeah, absolutely, yeah. Interesting, you
mm,
talk about the waves. In my heating yesterday, spoke to this person about when they were going through their challenges. It's like there was a storm and the waves were big, and so the waves crashed down on the beach all the time. And in her case, it was like this storm was coming up, the water would suck back and come forward, like crash down, and everything's just chaos. Since her shift from the previous thing, I said there are still going to be waves there, but they're going to be small little waves that lap up. So when something bad happens and the wave breaks and it can roll along gently. It rolls up a bit, and it just comes back. So
mm,
there are going to be ups and downs, waves. Some of them might be a little bit bigger than others, and they might be a bit hold you back a bit more, give you a bit more pain, whatever it may be. But
mm,
if you're in that chaotic state, you're in a storm where the waves are crashing, thundering around you so much that you can't set your sail or whatever in any direction because you are just surviving. Whereas when you can have the same things happening, but the beautiful sky you've got in your background there, beautiful calm water, the waves will still be coming, but they'll be smaller. They'll be more manageable. You better notice them and just roll up, roll back, roll up. It's okay. There'll be the good days, the bad days, but they'll be a lot more gentler when you calm your own waters. When you calm your own waters, the
mm.
waves don't appear to be so big.
Yeah.
You drop down and swell, and it's there are still those waves and ups and downs, but they, like you say, they like this instead of like boom, boom, suck me back in,
Yeah.
washing machine upside down, round and round. They're
Right.
just a
Yeah.
bit more gentle,
Yeah.
and that makes it easier for you to grow in your spiritual balance yourself spiritually and grow in your connect to your spiritualness, as you say. We're all able to walk on water, every single one of us. If we could just remember who we truly are. Huh?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Um,
Awesome.
and do you have any other practical tools about the way someone can do that, or if they're feeling really overwhelmed and chaotic and they're in the turmoil, what's your go-to favorite technique or tool that you utilize or that you advise your clients to use to bring them back to that center, to bring them back to the calm?
Yeah. So what I normally do with a client where we just put their hand on their heart, because the heart is where the center of everything is. If you look at the energy centers of the chakras, you've got the crown, the third eye, and the throat chakra, your three spiritual chakras. Then you have the base chakra, sacral chakra, sixth sense. Those are kind of your earthly ones, and they both come and center in, and your spiritual crown chakra is white light, and your base chakra is red. And if you put the two together, red and white make pink. And the pink, the rose quartz of the heart. I often say if you've got a rose quartz, just take that as a crystal if you have that, because that's a balance between the white light, the red Mother Earth, in a sense. That's the pink. It's the balance of the two. And some people, like me, I'm in the clouds a lot. Some people are very earthly and they're very grounded, and they're grounded people. And some are balanced. I'm more in the spiritual side, and sometimes have to bring my feet onto the ground. I'm not good at doing earthly stuff, and that I'm in the clouds a lot, Like my daughter's a much earthly person, so you need to set out a plan and make it. I said, but it'll just happen, Like my guys will just make it happen. It's like you can't do that. You got to write it down, make the steps and how you're going to get there and what's going to make it happen. So that's the difference between a kind of someone in the clouds and someone with their feet on the ground. But so I tell people, put your hand on your heart.
Yeah.
You get out of your head, get into your heart. Because if you think I'm stressed and I need to, don't worry about it. That's all in the head. If you just put your hand on your heart and just breathe into your heart, not into your head. So breathe that the white light and the red light, just three energy centers, and bring it to the pink in the middle, and bring that balance. And have no thoughts of any sort at all. Don't think, okay, I'm not going to worry about that. Just hand on the heart, and it can be whatever you're doing. It can be works in your desk, wherever you are. Just take a few seconds, a minute if you need to, 30 seconds. Just put your hand on your heart and just breathe into your heart with no thoughts. Because we obviously as humans think we need to have a plan. What do I need to do? So no, you need to do nothing. Just sit within the stillness of your heart. And as I said to you earlier, that's when you'll get the whisper, the words of wisdom will come, when you have no thought and you just quietly connecting to your heart. A little word will just drop in that maybe just something, okay, I can do that, and that will change things, It can seem like something small, but that comes from that inner stillness in the heart. Get out of the head into the heart. So the minute you start feeling thoughts in your head, just breathe back into the heart. And the heart's a space which is a brain that doesn't think in a third dimensional sense, It just makes the energy and just has this beautiful, beautiful vibration of pure unconditional love. Which is a beautiful space to get to. Even if you only get there for 30 seconds, it'll change your day.
Totally. And last for hours. I mean, that's why those beings who showed up in 2017 told me that heart technology was the most relevant and effective tool on the planet right now. And they were right.
Heart technology. Yeah. So in 2017, you had the experience with extraterrestrials?
Well, yeah, some light beings showed
Tell me a
up.
little bit about that.
Some light beings showed up, yeah. So, yeah, and it was all about heart technology. It was a very, very visceral experience of receiving that transmission. So that's how all my work started, anchored in heart technology, and then, you moving from there. And all my work has come through since that heart technology, like I use heart technology when I'm channeling through all my activations or things I'm doing with clients or in ceremonies or whatever it is I'm up to, for everything basically. So yeah, I'm constantly banging on about the heart.
Yeah, absolutely. We can get out of the head and into the heart.
Sure. Yeah.
It's a bit
It makes it so much easier. And it's funny because it's a different kind of intelligence that is actually there to help us really kind of reconstitute the way we can quantum leap through this reality, but we're so stuck in that mind matrix and everything else that goes along with it that it stops us from tapping into that. And
Yeah.
it's even all the flow state research has talked about that, and how you can one step in flow state, or a non-linear kind of approach, say is the same as a billion linear steps. Like, it's
Wow.
mind-blowing. Yeah. And I think that's to be said for everyone, because even if you're the most, you know, sort of logical, straight-laced kind of character who works in the corporate world in some way, and who blah, 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 you could benefit from actually utilizing that form of intelligence to help you in
Yeah.
that. It's meant to kind of like work back with us to help us through this reality much easier, actually. So in the way that it's currently set up, at least. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I
interesting.
think the extraterrestrials is something that we haven't tapped into enough as such. You take people like Einstein, Nikola Tesla in particular, and a lot of the genius people, whether it's artists or whatever. I don't think we realize that they were tapped into that higher intelligence. They were either tapped to
Absolutely.
extraterrestrials. Einstein definitely, Tesla unquestionably.
Yep.
They are connected into that. And extraterrestrials are here to help us. There's a lot of different kind of types or races of extraterrestrials, and they've been working on this planet for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
Native Americans have spoken about them from when they say when the white people came, the extraterrestrials stopped visiting.
Mm,
So they used to expect them and they would come and visit regularly. But
mm,
with that whole kind of change that stopped. But there's extraterrestrials. I connect with the Arcturians. That seemed to be and what I wanted to say earlier, that word that wouldn't come to my mind is I feel like I'm a hybrid. And that's a hard one for us to get our heads around. But for me, I feel like I'm 50% Arcturian and 50% human. I feel like I'm a hybrid
mhm,
in a sense, in that I've always just been connected differently. It's like I feel sometimes like I'm not from this planet. I
mhm.
realize that maybe I am also from another planet.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think
the
we all are.
extraterrestrial thing is, yeah, we all are, yeah, are from different planets, and it's a hard one for some people to get their heads around. I said 10 years, if you'd said that to me, I would have said, oh, that sounds a bit crazy. But when they've come to me, and they still do, I go into spaceships with people, take them to med beds in spaceships and whatever,
Mm,
and I see that they are there.
yeah,
And
totally.
the good ones the bad ones cannot operate here anymore. They're unable to,
Mm,
because the good ones just the light always gets rid of the dark, and
mhm,
they are here doing that at the moment.
mm.
There's all sorts of different names to them: white hats, the greys, this, that, whatever you want to call it, whatever the stories that you've been shown or whatever, that's what you're meant to see, you're meant to know. But they are definitely around us all the time.
Yeah, yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, and they're just
Well,
waiting
Craig,
for us
as
to
we
connect
as we
to
come
them.
to sort of completion, is there any final thoughts or message or energy transmission that you would like to leave the audience with today?
Yeah. Yeah, as I've said to you, Joanne, the light is coming. And that we need to know that if you look at prophecies from all sorts of cultures, Christianity is one of them, the Mayans, all sorts of cultures, they talk about the light coming. And this is the time, and I say I've just been shown that prophecy a long time ago. And there are so many different Hopi and Native American prophecies from all over that talk about this time of the seventh generation where things will change. And we are in that time. So my big message for people is the light's coming. Nothing can stop it. So it's easy to get caught up in all these things that are going on because there's a lot of stuff happening all around the world. And fear around things, AI is one of them. People have a fear of AI. AI is inevitable because we've developed to that stage. And it can be helpful towards us. It'll get to a point in time, and I use the 2030 as my example, where it doesn't matter what the dark side has done with those technologies, which they can do. spirit, and I spoke about the extraterrestrials, will literally just come in and you won't be able to do any dark stuff. So people are worried that AI is going to take over jobs, they're going to run us, they're going to walk around the streets and shoot us, and we're all going to disappear off this planet, and AI is going to take us over. None of that can happen. It can't happen. It can look like it's heading in that direction. Those ET, spirit, whatever, will just come down, send a little, as you said, that 3 billion steps or whatever. They'll just go, oops, and everything will be nothing nefarious can be done with any AR, anything at all. They'll just send out unconditional love into all that technology, all that stuff that's meant to restrict us, hold us back. I've seen all those things coming. So really, we need to rejoice in the fact that the light's coming, nothing can stop it. When I say nothing, we are beyond that point. It doesn't matter whether it seems like there's going to be a world war, whatever, nothing can stop it. The light's coming. So you need to sit within that inner peace within your heart and that knowing that love and peace is coming to this earth. Know that in your heart and just walk those steps to when it gets here. It's coming in our lifetime.
Well, I think it's also already here. And where
Yeah,
you put your
absolutely. Yeah.
attention, energy focuses and expands. And when, it's like anything, like if you are in a certain state of being, you will connect with everything in that state of being. But there's plenty here that is absolutely full of light, full of peace, full of all those qualities and amazing new
Yeah.
discoveries being made and all of this other stuff. It's just what we choose in our perception, really, and how we want to engage in this reality ultimately, and we get to choose. And so, wait, while I can see that, as you say, in these times, it's very difficult to see it like that because of what is going on around us. But you got to know that in the unseen realms, the lights, it's all here. It's all it's all
Yeah.
already happening. As you say, it's a
Yes.
fait accompli. And so there's really like
Yeah.
that's the state of it, and that's where we are. Um and it's not to, as you say, get tricked into or distracted or disengaged by all of that other stuff that's happening around, which is just recalibrating energy, working itself out of the patterns on the planet, really, and what's been here and is moving out. And see you later. Au revoir.
Yeah. 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 It's a choice. It's absolutely a choice. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Oh, amazing. Well, it's
Yeah.
been so fantastic to have you here, Craig. It's so
Yeah.
nice to see you again and see that Native American presence coming through you as you talked about. Um,
Yeah.
and so let everybody know where they can find you and connect with
Yeah. So easiest, I just gone to Craig Lyle Healer. See my website is craiglylehealer.com. And then I've got a Facebook page the same as well. That's the easiest to get hold of me on. There's either my telephone number or you can book. You can see kind of the services that I do. I'm just updating some pictures that are on my website at the moment. I'm coming down to Auckland. I normally come down to Auckland once a month, the last weekend of the month. Because this weekend coming is Labor Day. I'm coming down next weekend, the 1st and the 2nd, I think it is, of November. I'll be doing some healings down there. So I normally stay kind of Remuera, some friends there. A friend of mine who's she's got a healing room in there. So I'll be down Auckland that time. And I come down normally kind of once a month. But yeah,
Perfect.
my website's the best place to have a look at what I do, some of my reviews. And yeah, thank you, Joanne. Really blessed to connect with you. We haven't spoken for some time, but we kind of,
We
we
always bump
soul
into each
family
other
as
and have a
such.
chat,
We
catch
just,
up.
yeah, yeah. No, we just connect up when we meant to, It's
Hmm.
there's some people that you meet and you just know there's a path you're supposed to walk, and you'll connect when you're meant to, and we'll help each other when we're meant to, and we're all just helping each other. Each one of us has our own part to play. I can't do what you do, and you can't do what I do, because I'm supposed to do what I'm supposed to do, and you're supposed to do what you're supposed to do, and that it's the same for every single person listening or anybody in the world. Each one of us has our own part to play. Some of
Mm-hmm.
them may be small parts, some of them may be massive parts,
Yeah.
but we all have our part to play. We're all just blessed and honored to be at this very special time.
Yeah, beautiful. Amazing. Well,
Just,
thank you everybody for being here. All of that details also in the show notes under this video. So go check it out. Check out Craig's work. And if you like this video, like and subscribe, share it with your friends. It's always, beneficial to see what resonates with people and to, yeah, open people into other potential ways of looking and viewing reality and all of these things that are happening and little tools and techniques that can help us right now. So thank you, thank you, thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time. Ciao for now.
Okay.